Welcome students in this e-learning class. Today I am going to shed light on some of the very important points regarding Gulliver Travels. Right? I have quite extensively taught you this text in the class. However, as few months have already been passed, so I think it is necessary for me to again sort of recollect those significant aspects of this novel which you might have been forgotten, right? This lecture is primarily meant for SEM 2 students of English Honours course. Now, at the outset of my lecture, I would like to inform you that regarding the how to face objective questions in your upcoming semester exams, you need to focus on certain issues, certain important aspects of the novel. For example, in part 1, which is titled as The Voyage to the Land of Lilliput, here you see the travel begins with a short preamble in which Lemuel Gulliver gives a brief outline of his life and history before his voyages. This is how the previous work, this is how the narrator, the first person narrator, is giving an introduction to a series of voyages that he is going to encounter. Most importantly, the dates are very important. You see, the voyage starts on 4th May in the year 1699 and it continues, the first voyage continues till 13th April 1702. So roughly almost 3 years. Please mark the date. The second voyage to the land of Brobdingnag, the dates are 20th June 1702 to 3rd June 1706, so roughly 4 years. The dates are very important, it can come in your exam, right? So, no matter how much difficult, I know it is a bit difficult to remember all the dates, but you have to, right? Because the dates are very confusing. It can easily be overlapped, right? So please learn by heart, please memorize. Part 3, which is directly included in your syllabus, A Voyage to Laputa, Barley-Barby, Lugna, Glubdubdrib and Japan. So the third book roughly dates between 5th August 1706 to 16th April 1710. So 4.5 years, right? Similarly, the last part, the book 4, A Voyage to the Land of Hunuyms, is dated between 7th September 1710 to 5th December 1715. So it is the longest part, the longest voyage in terms of time, and it takes more than 5 years. September to December, I mean 5 years, 3 months. So the last part is the most longest of all Lemuel Gulliver's voyages that he had undertaken. You see, a possible reason for this novel's classic status, right? This novel is of course a canonical text in English literature. So the probable reason would be that it can be seen as many things to many different people. Broadly, the book has, if we can easily categorize, although this categorization is very difficult, but if we can give an attempt, if we can approach into this sort of absurd categorization, then 3 major points surface. The first is, you see, this novel provides a satirical view. I have repeatedly told you that this novel is primarily a Menippean satire, a satirical view of the state of European government and of petty differences between religions. So religious differences resurface again and again. Second, it is an inquiry into whether men are inherently corrupt or whether they become corrupted. So is corruption an inherent nature of human being? So Gulliver proves a systematic inquiry into this fact. The third is that this Gulliver's novel is a restatement of the order Ancient versus the moderns. Now, this particular conflict between the ancient and moderns is the recurrent theme in one of Jonathan Swift's previous book. It is the Battle of the Books, right? So, Jonathan Swift's The Battle of the Books also concentrates on this conflict, this ideological and socio-political conflict between ideas of ancient philosophers and modern philosophers. And this idea has also been reiterated in his Gulliver's Travels. So, this controversy previously addressed in Swift's The Battle of the Books in storytelling and in terms of construction of the plot, the framework. This construction follow an analogous, a very homogeneous pattern. What is it? You see, the causes of Gulliver's misadventures become more malignant as time goes on. This thing I've taught you, repeatedly told you in the class, that he is first shipwrecked in case of Lilliput, then abandoned in Brobdingnag, then attacked by strangers in this land of Laputa and Luggnagg, etc., and then attacked by his own crew before his voyage, before his adventure into the land of Hunanim. So, first shipwreck, then abandon. Shipwreck is quite natural, that many tragic incidents have occurred in human history. Then abandoned, right? The tertiary stage is attacked by strangers, and the last stage is not strangers, but his own men. Right? So there is a sense of deception, there is a sense of betrayal and perfidy. Right? So as if it is quite following a climax. Climax as we use in the rhetorical figure. Climax as you use in rhetorics. So Gulliver's attitude hardens as the book progresses, right? He is genuinely surprised by the viciousness and politicking of the Lilliputians, but finds the behavior of the Yahoos are the horses, right, in the fourth part reflective of the behavior of the people. So Gulliver is quite alienated from human beings at the end of his adventure, and he is quite drawn, quite taken aback by the reason, by the faculty of reason possessed by the horses, the Yahoos. Each part is the reverse of the preceding part. Gulliver is big in the land of Lilliput, whereas in the immediately the book that follows in the adventure to Brobdingnag, he is small. So in the first part, Gulliver is the giant, Lilliputians are the small ones. Whereas in the second book, Gulliver is the Lilliput. Gulliver becomes Lilliput, and the people of Brobdingnag are the giants. See, completely a very converse, very contrary portrayal of human beings, a very antithetical projection into the nature of humanity, or as Gulliver becomes the representative of human beings. In the third book, here Gulliver is wise, sagacious. Gulliver is the intelligent, when he is being compared to Laputa, Luggnagg, Lugdabdi, etc. Whereas in the fourth part, Gulliver is the ignorant one, devoid of reason. Right? He is the odious Varwin, and the other Retionis Capax, as we find in the first part, as it is mentioned by Swift. So again, this a very contrary portrayal of two different natures, two opposite nature of human existence. The countries are complex in case of Lilliput, simple in Brobdingnag. The countries are scientific in case of Japan and Laputa, etc. And in the last part, the habitat is very natural one in the land of Yahoos and Hunarins. Now, if you focus on the forms of government, right, the structure, the political structure, then you see in the land of Lilliput, the government is worse, very dictatorial, a despotic monarch sitting at the throne. In Brobdingnag, quite approachable monarch, better government. Again, in the land of Laputa, worse government, and at the last part, ruled by the faculty of reason, the government was better. Now, coming to Gulliver's standpoint, right? Gulliver's outlook to this adventures. You see, Gulliver's viewpoint between parts is mirrored by that of his antagonist in the contrasting part. Gulliver views the teeny Lilliputians as being vicious and unscrupulous, right? And then the king of Brobdingnag sees Europe in exactly the same light. The way in which Gulliver has seen the Lilliputians, the viewpoint is quite reversed in the case of the Brobdingnagian king. Because to Gulliver, Lilliputs are unreasonable, and to the Brobdingnagian king, with the human beings, the race of Gulliver is unreasonable, right? Specific individuals may be good even when the race is bad. Gulliver finds a friend in each of his travels. This is very interesting. Gulliver is accompanied by a trustworthy fellow. And despite his rejection and horror toward all Yahoos, right? Yahoos are the human beings. It can be compared to the figure of Morlock in H.G. Wells' famous novel, The Time Machine. Eloi and Morlock. See again, the disparity, the binary opposition. Eloi and Morlocks. It is treated, and this you see, Gulliver's condemnation towards the Yahoos is treated very well by the Portuguese captain Don Pedro, who arrives at the end of the novel, who returns him to England and at the novel's end. So before ending this first part of my discussion, I would like to focus on another point, is this the very genre of travel narrative. Right? You see, human beings started exploring the entire world only when, with the excellence, with the development of scientific progress. Right? The development of technology, the development of science, rationality, and not only with science but scientific instruments. We need compass, right? We need to make big ships and probably with an engine. The journey started with the Ferdinand Magellan. We have all read it in our school days that the earth is not flat but the earth is round. So at the end of 16th century, or with the very beginning, very initial stage of 17th century, we know that if we just give a quiet look into the history into the human history, and most importantly in the European history, then it would become very obvious that it is this phase, the beginning of 17th century, when these scientific explorations and scientific advancement were being taken place. Suppose the invention of compass, the invention of steam engines, etc. So this scientific development paved way to all these very enthusiastic explorers, right? Very eager people who venture sort of to excavate the unknown parts of our earth, of our planet. And Jonathan Swift's strategy, technique of writing, of quite penning down this novel is of no exception. Gulliver, please keep it in mind that Gulliver is a man of science, right? He had studied astronomy, science, medical science, etc. So he's a rational human being, and in this novel, very importantly, that rationality is pitted against absurdity. Sense is pitted against nonsense. So Gulliver, being a man of science, being a rational individual, is encountering, is sort of exploring, and at the end he is confronting the unreasonable. reason and in non-reason or unreason. Absurdity. We know that in our planet, a place like Lilliput or the kingdom of Brobdingnag can never exist. These are all the author's figment of imagination. But Swift's artistic craftsmanship lies in his delicate portrayal, delicate imbuing of events, of rationality on one hand, reason, science, faculty of logic, and on the other hand, absurdity, nonsense, imagination, and illogicity. So, while reading, very minutely reading this text, you should take note of all these important, significant issues which are very much ingrained within the narrative of the novel. In the next part of my discussion, I shall be discussing a few more thematic focus of the text of this text included in your syllabus. Thank you.